Now, here's something to think about. Suppose a sovereign nation, say the United States, wanted to catch Robert and bring his genius and technology to heel. Who could they call upon? Real life period technology would have no hope of producing an aircraft fit to catch the fantastic fictional albatross. But in story, one group would certainly try and certainly think themselves equal to the task, even if their own self puffery was all it would amount to. Yes, I'm going to talk about the Balloonians. Now, despite Jules Verne's writing of 5 weeks in a balloon, he was apparently a staunch heavier than air advocate. Never mind the balloon Victoria from 5 weeks. So it's no stretch of imagination that the Balloonians are basically the story's strawmen, meant to lack credibility in their actions and words, and to be ridiculous in their conduct when they are present. They're not the only ones like this in story, but to keep focus, Verne writes this lighter than air aviation advocacy group in a very particular way. It's made explicit that these Balloonians are a group of top hat frat boys. They have next to no acumen in science nor engineering, what would pertain to their declared advocacy, but a high proficiency in getting into fights with each other and whatever is a convenient target for their temper. And they'll take out their destructive energies on the public and even impose themselves on other people's homes and privacy. It's probably only their individual and aggregate wealth that allows them to bribe their way out of serious resentment and litigation for their trespass. So Verne is not being charitable in portraying Americans in this gaggle of prideful, violent, and self-entitled high-class hooligans. The written passages that has them split themselves almost exactly in half when choosing a club chair and secretary, as well as choosing an aircraft configuration, propeller front versus propeller back, is something I easily see as commentary on the American two-party political system, and I can't blame Verne for that choice either. Alas, for all their arbitrary divisiveness and belligerence, to themselves and to others, their aspiration to make a capable, lighter-than-air flying apparatus, no matter their financial means, far outstrips their engineering acumen. After all, placing the propeller forward or aft, or both in two props, has little bearing on the fact that the blimp Go-Ahead is ill-equipped to weather any wind or other inclement weather, not by any mean measures of ground handling, nor flight handling. If the Balloonians expect their blimp Go-Ahead to ride out or survive a windy storm, there's no evidence that they've done any of the engineering work to make it structurally sound nor controllable in such conditions. If the Albatross didn't re-enter the story by its conclusion to face the Go-Ahead, then any non-calm atmospheric conditions would have doomed the airship and its crew to a long fall. As for the story's conclusion, there is actually a first draft ending, distinct from the published ending to Verne's book. The Go-Ahead is going through its paces in a calm, clear sky, showing no apparent weakness nor deficiencies, when Albatross and Robur appear. Despite their outward projection, Uncle Prudent and Phil Evans know the extent of Albatross's flying abilities, and its armament. So naturally fearing Robert's revenge for their destruction of the first Albatross, the crew of the Go-Ahead tried desperately to keep away from Albatross. To no avail. Albatross is designed and built for high speed and acceleration, while the Go-Ahead is just able to get itself airborne. This is where the alternate endings diverge. In the first draft ending, Robur simply takes Albatross close to Go-Ahead and shoots it with his onboard barbette-mounted cannon, tearing apart the Go-Ahead and sending it earthward. Prudent, Evans, and crew take to parachutes to escape the falling wreck, and Robur, descending with them, demands their acknowledgement of the superiority of heavier-than-air craft, and his genius more generally. Naturally, they refuse, and Robur leaves them to land before the gathered crowd, humiliated. Whatever you think of the characters or aircraft, shooting someone is a poor demonstration of superiority. After all, you don't have to be superior in any way to shoot someone down. It is well that Verne scrapped that ending. The ending that was published is far more profound. There is no chance to escape Albatross, and Robur freely outflies and menaces Go-Ahead at will. To escape, Prudent, Evans, and Go-Ahead crew try to outclimb Albatross. Foolishly so, because in their tireless advocacy of lighter-than-air flight, they've neglected a simple scientific principle, that gases, such as lifting gas, under decreasing pressure, such when gaining altitude, tend to expand in volume. Without the ability to vent gas, the airship will climb until it ruptures its own skin at too high an altitude, thus losing all lift and structure, sending wreck and crew down to Earth the hard way. The Albatross, a purely powered VTOL aircraft, does not have that particular restriction, and maintains position relative to the doomed airship all the way to the denouement. Instead of letting the Go-Ahead crew fall to their death, Robur and Albatross crew pull close alongside and board the blimp, forcing Prudent and Evans onto Albatross and saving all their lives. As Go-Ahead is destroyed, Robur, instead of taking Prudent, Evans, and company prisoner, chooses to descend safely to the ground and release them. There, the crowd gets a full view of Albatross and its genius designer and engineer, Robur. To conclude the story, Robur addresses the crowd directly, stating that the progress of technology and the conquest of space can and will be attained, but gradually and not by force. Not before social mores allows that conquest to be a profit to humanity and not an abuse. He even promises that the secret of his conquest of the air will be made known to the world one day, when people the world over can be trusted with it. Meanwhile, the Balloonians are thoroughly humiliated, because no amount of money, nor violence, nor prideful obstinate disbelief offered any profit to their project, much less take away from Robur's accomplishment. In the first draft, Verne writes that Robur is unquestionably French, and having blown rival airship Go-Ahead out of the air, the story would have been all the poorer for it, as it would have demonstrated the supremacy of imperialism over scientific and humanist advancement. In the published ending, Verne writes that Robur, rather than being of one creed or nation, is metaphorically the science and knowledge of the future embodied in a man. Ahead of their time and abrasive at times, but undeniably superior to the coercive tendencies of old world minds.